Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and review some things before you guys have your test. And these are the basic concepts that were easy to forget, especially given the snow, storm, ice storm that we had. So hopefully this will just clarify everything and get you ready for the test this week. The first thing you want to make sure you know how to do is how to identify your A, B, and C, okay, because you'll use that throughout every quadratic thing pretty much. And you can only do that when y is equal to 0. So if you know your equation is not equal to 0, you aren't going to have the A, B, and C. Okay. Also remember that B can be 0 and it would look something like this. Okay, and remember that C can be 0 and it would look something like this. Alright. When you're doing word problems, a lot of the times they use time and height. Okay. And of course height is going to be represented by y because it moves up and down, and time left and right. Keep in mind you're not normally going to have a negative time because that would be weird when you're doing word problems. So all you need to do is make sure you graph it and then really look at, like for instance, if this was a graph of a cat jumping off the fridge, which they will do stuff like that, and how high the cat went. Well, this would be the highest he went, and then this would be how long he was in the air, so from 0 seconds to here, okay? Or if I'm jumping off a cliff, which don't get any ideas, but if I'm jumping off a cliff here, then this is, the highest I was, and this still is how much time that I spent or whatever. So just remember when you're dealing with quadratics, because it applies to physics so much, they're going to usually use time and height, unless it has something to do with cost, which was like an example you guys did in your group work. Remember domains for quadratics, it can be any number, okay, so it's going to be any negative infinity to infinity, okay, and then but ranges depend on where the vertex is, okay, so in this case this is going to be my lowest value, my min, okay, and if I have a graph like this, then it would be my max. And then from then on is whatever my range is. Okay, dealing with the inequalities, if they have this symbol, you know that it's going to be a solid line. And of course, if it just is this or this, then it'll be dotted. And if it's shaded like this, that's to shade up, that means greater than. And if it's shaded like this, that's a shade down, that's less than. When it comes to how the graph moves, you guys did really good on this paper, but just to go over it again, remember it's going to reflect over x if it has a negative. Doesn't mean it has to, but it's not going to do anything crazy to over here, but it will flip upside down. Remember that. It looks like it's a little sad face. Oh, I have to take this test. If you are in those parentheses and it's minus or plus, and a lot of you guys pointed this out, it's actually opposite of what you think. Plus will move you to the left, and minus ends up moving you to the right. And then, but of course, you can just put stuff in your graph and look. I would recommend doing that all the time just to double check yourself. And then, of course, as we learn with the plus C's and the minus C's and the plus K's and the minus K's, if it's plus K, it's just going to move it up, and if it's minus, it'll just move it down. So wherever it starts will be different. That's it. All right.